So I just got these things. I didn't order these. They came in that box right there. And these are off my Amazon wish list. I know exactly who sent these. And her name's Amanda. She watches my live stream and has clearly helped me out with a few little gifts here so that I can take care of my babies. These are the right size that I need for my hatcher. I need smaller waters and feeders because when you're hatching birds, if they don't all hatch at the same time, you may generally end up with, 3 or 4 day old and 1 day old in the same group of the same breed. And the problem with that is, even though the 3 day olds are generally hardened off and ready to go out, the 1 day olds aren't. And they need to spend 3 days in the incubator and harden off. And what that means, when I say harden off, what I mean by that is they need to become accustomed to the temperature change, even if it's slight, and be able to regulate their own body temperature. When you have them in a hatcher, that hatcher still needs to be at 99.5 degrees. So, they don't freeze to death, even in 90 degree weather. Because they will. I've had it happen, unfortunately. But these guys here will do a good job of sitting in there. They're small enough that they can sit in that bottom hatch bin, and the birds can get all the food and water they need if they need it. Because generally they're good for about 3 days while they still absorb their yolk. But like I said, once you get different age groups mixing, you need to be able to provide feed and water in a regulated environment so that you don't end up losing them. These look like they're okay for other birds too, not just ducks, but maybe quail. I'm not really 100%. I don't really trust these for quail, just because I can fit my whole finger in there. And the problem is, quail, when they hatch, they're about that big. A quail egg is about that big, right? So little tiny itty bitty guys. And the problem is, when they're that small, quail are, for lack of a better phrase, they're incredibly stupid when they're just hatched. That quail will jump over, launch its whole body into this, drown, and die. Or if it manages to get back out, now it's soaking wet, and then it goes off somewhere else and dies. Even at 99.5 degrees, they just can't tolerate being wet. So that's not to say that these aren't useful. These are useful for ducks and chicks, because they're much bigger and they won't get in this and drown themselves or get soaking wet. The feeder I can probably use for quail, just because when you put feed in this, it's going to, cover these holes or come out to these holes, so they can't get in there. Because that's another issue. Like with the big feeders I have, they'll get in here and get stuck underneath these guys, and they end up dying. I don't know why they die, but they do. Stress or something, I guess. But anyway, but yeah, so these are good for chicks and ducks, which is primarily what I hatch right now. This reminds me that I need to go update my Amazon wish list for you guys that want to buy me stuff. Now, I'm gonna add some stuff on there that you will likely have no freaking idea what it is, but there's a reason for it. Say I need, with all the cameras I'm going to set up in the individual pens, I'm going to set up a box. It's a Pelican box, and it has snap sides on it to keep it watertight. Now, I'm going to put in that a network switch. It's probably going to be like a 24 port or 48 port, but the thing is, I need to be able to get those Ethernet cables out of it and still maintain water tightness. So they sell these things called glands, and what it is looks like a nut with threads on it, and it has a nut on the back of it and a through hole and a rubber seal on it, or inside of it, that the Ethernet cable goes through. And when you tighten down the little end cap, it tightens that rubber around that Ethernet cable. Most people have no idea what that is, or what even the usefulness of it is. But that's the kind of things that I'm going to add to that Amazon wish list. Can I buy them myself? Sure. But, if you feel like you want to help me out, things like that I can almost always use, just because of how much infrastructure I have. So, but I'll add, other things on there too, stuff that people recognize that we can, use for brooding the chicks or growing the chicks or all that good stuff. So, but anyway, enough rambling. Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate this. It's going to go a long way for making sure them guys in that hatcher are fed and watered. Really helps a lot, and I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.